Okay. Night 7 and 8. Night 7. The seventh night. I'm terrible worried, said Robert's mother. I don't know what's wrong with the boy. He used to spend all his time in the park playing ball with Al and Charlie and Enrique. Now he shuts himself in his room and spends all his time painting rabbits and more rabbits. Quiet, mother, please, Robert said. I can't concentrate. And the numbers he keeps muttering to himself, numbers and more numbers, it's not normal. She was talking out loud to herself, as if Robert were in the room. He didn't used to be interested in numbers. You should have heard him go on and on about his teacher and the problems he gave him to do. Finally, she turned to Robert and said, "Isn't it time you go out and get some fresh air?" Robert looked up from the painting and said, "You're right. If I keep counting rabbits, I'm going to get a headache." So off he went to the park, a large grassy place with not a rabbit in sight. "Hi!" Al called when he caught sight of Robert. "Want to play?" Enrique, Gary, Hugh, and Jamil were there too. They were all playing football, but Robert didn't feel like joining in. They have no idea how trees grow, he thought. It was time to eat when he got home, and he went straight to bed after supper, slipping a thick-tipped felt pen in his pajama pocket just in case. "Since when do you go to bed so early?" his mother asked. "You always used to stay up till all hours of the night." Robert knew exactly what he had in mind and had no intention of telling his mother about it. She'd never believe him if he told her about rabbits and trees and even fish now, how numbers work, and that he had made friends with the number devil. And no sooner did his head hit the pillow than the number devil was on the scene. "Today I have something extraordinary to show you," he said. "Anything you like, just no more rabbits. They've tortured me to death all day. I couldn't keep track of the whites and the browns. Forget it and come with me." He took Robert to a white house in the form of a cube, and inside was a white too, even the staircase and the doors. "There is no place to sit," Robert complained, when they went into a large, bare, completely white room. "And what are those stones doing over there?" But when he went up to the tall pile of objects in the one corner and looked at them more carefully, he realized they weren't stones at all. They seemed to be large cubes of glass or plastic, he said, with something glittering inside. "Something electronic?" said the Never Devil. "What do you say we build a pyramid?" He took a few cubes and laid them in a long row on the white floor. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Working together, they laid out the following row. "Stop!" the Number Devil cried out suddenly. "How many cubes have we got here now?" Robert counted them. 17, he said. "An exciting number. More exciting than you imagine. Subtract one, for instance. You get 16. A hopping number. That's a 2 that's been made to hop 4 times, like 2 to the fourth power." "Good for you," said the Number Devil. "You're getting very observant. But let's get back to work. Each cube in the next row goes on the crack between the 2 cubes in the front row. The way bricklayers build a wall." "Okay," said Robert. But it'll never be a pyramid. Pyramids are triangular or rectangle at a base, and this thing is flat. It won't be a pyramid, but it can be a triangle." "Fine," said the Number Devil. "Then we'll build a triangle," which is what they did. "Finished!" Robert cried. "Finished! How can that be? We just started." The Number Devil then climbed up one side of the triangle and wrote the number 1 on the top cube. "You and your ones," Robert muttered. "Right," the Number Devil replied spiritedly, "because in the end everything goes back to 1. But where do we go from there?" You'll see, you'll see. On each cube, we'll write the sum of the numbers directly above it. Nothing to it, said Robert, and he pulled out his trusty felt pen and wrote, one, one plus one and one, all once, he said. No need for a calculator yet. Not just yet, said the number devil. Proceed. Robert wrote, 1, 2, 1. Child's play, he said. Don't be so cocky, my boy. You've just begun. Robert wrote, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. And I can see the numbers along the sides will all be ones no matter how far we go down. And I can fill in the numbers in the next diagonal rows on either side without doing the arithmetic because they'll just be perfect normal numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He climbed up and down the triangle writing. What about the next diagonal row? The one right next to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Read out the first four numbers. 1, 6, 9, 10. Hey, they look familiar. Coconuts, cried the Never Devil. Right. Now I remember. 1, 3, 6, 10. They're triangle numbers. And how do we make them? Sorry, I don't remember that. That I don't remember. Simple. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 6 plus 4 equals 10. 10 plus 5 equals 15. 15 plus 6, he went on is 21. So you do remember. As a result, Robert could fill in more and more numbers. On one hand, things got easier because the lower himself, the closer to the ground. On the other hand, the numbers got awfully long, awfully fast. Hey, you can't expect me to do all that kind of addition in my head. Don't get all worked up now, said the number devil. I wouldn't be much of a number devil if I couldn't take care of this in a flash. And in a flash, he had filled the entire triangle. You really had to squeeze in that 12,870, said Robert. You can say that again. You may think this is only going to give you a headache. Wrong. Quite the contrary, in fact. It's good for lazy bones who don't want to bother with long sums. Let's say you need to find the sum of the first 12 triangle numbers. All you do is run your finger down the third diagonal row, the one that goes 1, 3, 6, 10, and so on until you get to the 12th cube. Then find the number just below it and towards the center. That's it. By doing so, you have saved yourself the effort of working out 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 10 plus 15 plus 21 plus 28 plus 36 plus 45 plus 55 plus 56 plus 78 comes to. Oh, that's nothing. There's lots more to the triangle than that. Have you any idea what we've built? The number devil then asked. It's more than a triangle. It's a monitor, a screen. Why do you think all the cubes have electronic insides? All I have to do is turn it on and it will light up. With one clap of his hands, he turned out the lights, and with another, he lit the cube on top. It lit bright red like a traffic light. There's that one again, said Robert, and at the next clap of his hands, the first line went out and the second line glowed red. Would you mind adding them up for me? The number devil asked. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Robert, big deal. Number clapped his hands again, and the third line shone in red. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 4, Robert said. I get it. You can stop clapping. It's our old friend, the hopping twos. The next line will be 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed. In other words, 8. And so on down the line, 16, 32, 64, until you come to the bottom of the triangle. The last line is 2 to the 16th, said the devil, and that's a quite hefty number. 65,536, in case you're interested. I could do without it. Fine, the number devil said. Clapping his hands, all of a sudden it was dark again. Are you up to visit with some of our more old friends? He asked. Depends on who they are. Number Double clapped 3 times, and the cubes instantly lit up again. Though this time some were orange, others were blue, and yet others were green or red. Looks like a Christmas tree, said Robert. Do you see the color-coded stairs leading from the top to the right to the bottom? Left. What do you think will happen if we add up each color? Start with the red one on the top, which is all by itself, said Robert. One, as always. Now the yellow one just below it, all by itself, one. Now we come to the blue, 2 cubes. 1 plus 1 is 2. Now to the green, just below it, 2 green cubes. 2 plus 1 is 3. By now Robert knew what to expect. Red again, 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. Then yellow, 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8. Then blue, 1 plus 6 plus 5 plus 1 is 13. Tell me, what's going on here with this? 1, 1, 2, 3, 8, 13. We're back to the bocas and the rabbit numbers. See how much we've packed into our triangle? And we could go on for days. But I have a feeling you've had enough. More than enough, actually. All right, then, he said. With a clap of his hands, he turned off the colored cubes. A pity, though, because you know what I can do with just one more clap? I can I can light up the even numbers and leave the odd numbers dark. Are you game? If you insist. But Robert was amazed by what he saw. Hey, that's wild! Triangle after triangle within a triangle, except they're upside down. And some come in small, medium, and large. The small looks like a single cube, but it's actually a triangle. A medium consists of 6 cubes, and the large is 28. Triangle numbers all. What do you think will happen if we turn on the even numbers and the numbers that can be divided by 2 and light up the numbers that can be divided by 3 or 5? All it takes is a clap of the hands. Which would you like to see? Shall we try for 5? Yes. Robert said. All numbers divisible by 5. When the number double clapped, he clapped his hands, the orange lights went out and green lights came on. So this was all the even numbers. So now our green lights come on. Never in my wildest dreams would I have expected triangles again, said Robert. And the same but different, pure witchcraft. Yes, my boy, I often wonder where mathematics stops and witchcraft begins. Fantastic, this is all you're doing. Nope. Well then, whose? The devil who knows. The great number triangle goes back a long way. It's much older than I am. And you're no spring chicken yourself. Me? How can you say such a thing? Why, I'm one of the youngest residents of Number Heaven, and our triangle is at least 200 or 2,000 years old. It was a Chinese gentleman who came up with the idea, I believe. But we still enjoy playing with it, making it do new tricks. Nothing you do ever seems to have an end, Robert thought, not daring to say it out loud. So there's your green triangles. By the number devil must have read his thoughts because he said, yes, mathematics is an endless story. Keep digging and keep coming up with new things. You mean you can't stop? Robert asked. I can't, whispered the number devil. But you? And as he spoke, the green cubes grew paler and paler, and he grew thinner and thinner until they went off altogether, and he was a shadow of his former self. Before long, Robert had forgotten everything: bright cubes, big triangles, broken numbers, and even his friend the number devil. You look pale this morning, his mother said when he woke up after the long, long sleep. Are you having nightmares again? Not in the least. Well, I'm worried about you. Don't be, mother. You know the saying, the devil is never so grim as he is painted. Are you any Are any of you curious about what kind of pattern you get when you light up all the numbers that can be divided by 4? You don't need a pencil or don't need a number devil to figure it out. Just copy the triangle on the next page and take a colored pencil and color all the numbers that occur in the 4 columns of the multiplication table. With the numbers above 48, use your calculator, enter the number, then divide by 4 and hit the equal sign and see if it comes out even. The eighth night. Robert was at the blackboard. His 2 best friends in class, Al, the one he played football with, and Betsy, the one with the pigtails, were sitting in front as usual. And as usual, they were having an argument. Just what I needed, Robert thought, a dream about school. At that very moment, the door flew open, and in came Mr. Bockle. Not Mr. Bockle, but the number devil. "Good morning," he said. "Arguing again, I see." "Betsy's sitting in my place," said Al. "Then switch places." "She won't budge." "Put an A for Al and a B for Betsy on the board, Robert," said the number devil. "Why not?" Robert thought. "If it makes him happy." "Now, Betsy," said the number devil, "I want you to change places with Al." And for the strange reason, Betsy didn't make a scene. She stood up and changed places with Al. Now we have B.A. Robert wrote on the board. At the very moment the door flew open again, and in came Charlie, late as usual. Charlie sat down next to Betsy. "CBA," wrote Robert. But Betsy didn't like that. "If I'm going to sit on the left, I'm going to sit all the way on the left." "Heavens to Betsy!" Charlie cried. The two changed places. BCA. Then Al was upset. "I want to sit next to Betsy," he said, so easy-going. Charlie gave Al his place without a murmur. BAC. If this keeps up, Robert said to himself, we can forget all about class. And it did keep up because Al decided he wanted to sit on the left, which means we all had to get up, says Betsy, and I don't know why, but come on, Charlie. Here is how it looked when they all settled down again. ABC. Not that it lasted, of course. "I will sit next to Charlie for another minute," said Betsy, before long. She's a real pain, that Betsy. And since Betsy had to have her way, the boys had to get up and move. Robert wrote CAB. "Enough is enough," he said. "That's it." "It is now," the number devil responded. The three of them haven't exhausted. Or is it now? The number devil responded. The three of them haven't exhausted the possibilities open to them. Suppose Al were to sit on the left, Charlie in the middle, and Betsy on the right. "Not on your life!" Betsy cried. Don't make such a fuss, Betsy." The three of them pulled themselves up again and repositioned themselves. ACB. "Hey, Robert, notice anything?" "I don't think those three will come up with anything else." Robert looked at the board. ABBA. ABCA or CBA, BCA, BAC, ABC, CAB, ACB. "We have tried all the possibilities," he said. "That we have," said the number devil. "But there are more than the 4 of you in class. Quite a few more, I'm afraid." At that very moment the door flew open, and in ran Doris out of breath. "Hey, what's going on here? Where's Mr. Brockle, and who are you?" "I'm the substitute for Mr. Brockle. He's taking a day off. He said he needed a rest from the chaos that reigns in this class." "I can see why," said Doris. "Look at them. They're all in the wrong seats. Since when do you sit there, Charlie? That's my desk." "What order do you suggest, Doris?" the number devil asked. "Why don't you go by the alphabet?" she said. "A for Al, B for Betsy, C for Charlie, and so on. That's the simplest way out." "As you like. Let's give it a try." So Robert wrote on the board A, B, C, D. But the others weren't the least bit happy with Doris' suggestion, and all hell broke loose in the classroom. Betsy was the worst, biting and scratching when one of the others refused to give way, but they all pushed and shoved, and little by little the crazy game of musical chairs they played began to seem like fun, and they switched places so fast that Robert had trouble keeping up with them. In the end, though, he did manage to get all their seating combinations on the board. It's a good thing there's a lot of kids absent today, Robert thought, or it could go on forever. And at that very moment, the door flew open, and in came Enrique, Felice, Gary, Hugh, Iris, Jamel, and Karen. No, no, Robert cried. No, please don't sit down, or I'll go crazy. All right, the number devil, said the number devil. That's it for today. You can all go home. Me too, asked Robert. No, I need you to stay a while. While his classmates ran out into the schoolyard, Robert looked over the numbers on the board. Well, said the number devil. What do you make of them? I'm not sure, said Robert. All I know is that the number of ways they can sit increases awfully fast. As long as there are only two kids, things were simple. Two kids, two possibilities. But then three kids, there were six possibilities. With four kids, wait a minute, 24 possibilities. What if there was only one? What a thing to ask. One possibility? Let's try multiplying, said the number devil. I see, Robert, said Robert. Interesting. So one child is one, two children is one times two is two, three children is one times three times six, or times three equals six, four is one times two times three times four equals 24. I see, Robert, said. Interesting. The more of classmates join the game, the more inconvenient it is to write it all out like that. It's a shorter way, though. You take the number and put an exclamation mark like after it, like this. So 4 exclamation mark equals 24. And you read it as 4 Varoom. What do you think would happen if you hadn't sent Enrique, Fleece, Gary, Hugh, Iris, Jamal, and Karen home? Utter confusion. Pandemonium, replied the number devil. I can just see them pushing and shouting and trying out each and every combination. It would have taken ages. Together with Al, Betsy, Charlie, there have been 11 of them. That means 11 Varoom possibilities. Can you guess how many that is? I know I can't do it in my head, but I always bring my calculator to school. I have to hide it, of course. Mr. Brockle can't stand the sight of calculators. So I'll have my answer in a jiffy for you. 1 times 3 times 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9 times 11 times 11 equals 11 Varoom, he said excitedly, is precisely 39,916,800. Wow, nearly 40 million. If you'd gone through all the combinations, we'd still be here 80 years from now. Your classmates would be in wheelchairs, and we'd have to hire 11 nurses to do the pushing. See how useful a bit of mathematics can be? It reminds me. Have you looked out the window and tell me your classmates are there? Oh, I'm sure they've all gone their separate ways. I assume you shake hands when you say goodbye. Shake hands? We mumble, see you, if you're lucky. A pity, said the number devil, because I wonder how long it would take for each of them to shake hands with each other. I know, or you know perfectly well, there'd be an untold number of handshakes, 11 Varoom of them. I suppose since there are 11 of them. Wrong, said the number devil. Wait a minute, Robert said. I see. If there were 2 of them, they need only 1 handshake. If there are 3 of them, try putting it on the board. This is what Robert wrote. A, no handshakes. A, B, A to B. A, B, C, A, B, A, C, B, C. B, C, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, B. A, D, B, C, B, D, C, D. 2 people, 1 handshake. 3 people, 3 handshakes. 4 people, 6 handshakes. 5 people, 10 handshakes. 1, 3, 6, 10. Look familiar? Robert couldn't remember. The number devil made 3 big dots on the board. Coconuts, Robert shouted. Triangle numbers. And how did they go? Robert wrote on the board. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4, so on and so forth. So you need exactly 55 handshakes. That wouldn't be so bad, said Robert. And here's what you do to get around all the arithmetic. You draw a few circles on the board. Let the letters stand for each of your friends. Al for A for Al, B for Betsy, C for Charlie, and so on. Then you join the letters with lines. Pretty, isn't it? And since each line represents a handshake, all you have to do is count them. 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, as usual, said Robert. There's only one thing I don't understand. How is it that everything you do works? That's the devilish thing about numbers. Everything works. Well, almost everything. Because the prima donna numbers, remember them? They have their problems. And you've got to keep your eyes peeled for them. Or you'll fall flat on your face, which is why so many people hate numbers. I can't stand slobs, and they can't stand numbers. By the way, go to the window, and you'll see in the schoolyard what looks like a pigsty. Robert had to admit the schoolyard had strewn soda cans and newspapers and sandwich wrappings. If 3 of you pick up some brooms, you can sweep it clean in half an hour. Which 3 have got you got in mind? Robert said. Al, Betsy, and Charlie say, or Doris, Enrique, Felice. And you've got Gary, Hugh, and Alice, Jamal, and Karen waiting in the wings. So which 3 doesn't matter? Right. Then we can combine them any old way, Robert said. Right again. But suppose they're all not available. Suppose Doris, Enrique, and Felice aren't available. So so we have only 3: Betsy, Al, Betsy, and Charlie. But they'll have to do it. Good. Put that on the board. Robert wrote ABC. Now, if Doris runs in late as usual, what do we do? What are the possibilities? Robert thought and read the following: ABC, ABD, ACD, BCD. These 4, Robert said. Now Enrique turns up. Why should he be included? That makes 5 candidates. See what you can do with 5. But Robert refused. He was getting a little nervous. You tell me, he said. All right. With 3 people, you can have only one group of 3. With 4, you can have 4 groups. And with 5, you can have 10. So here, let me put it on the board for you. Here's something special I want you to notice. As you can see, I've put the groups up in alphabetical order. How many groups begin with AI? Or with Al? 10. How many with Betsy? 4. And how many with Charlie? 1. The same numbers keep coming up. 1, 4, 10. Can you guess how it goes on from there? I mean, if we added a few more names, Felice, Gary, Hugo, and so forth, how many groups would we have then? Beats me, said Robert. You remember how we cracked the handshake problem with everybody shaking hands with everyone else? That was a breeze. We used triangle numbers. 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21. But they won't help with the broom brigade, which work in groups of 3. And what if you add the first 2 triangle numbers together? You get 4, and the next one, 10, and the next one, 20. Go on. You mean keep going until I come to the 11th? You can't be serious. Don't worry. You can get there without arithmetic. You can get there without guessing, even without A, B, C, D, E, F, G, K, I, J, K. How? With good old triangle numbers, the number devil said. You mean you're going to put one on the board? Heavens, no. Not when I have my handy walking stick handy. No sooner did he tap the stick on the board, there was more than there it was in all its glory, in all its glorious color, too. Couldn't be easier, he said. For the handshakes, you count from the top to the bottom using the green cubes. 1 handshake, 2 people. 3 handshakes, 3 people. 55 for 11 people. For our Brew Brigade trio, you use use the red cubes, again from the top to bottom. We start out with 3 people, one possibility. When we have 4 people to choose from, we have 4 combinations. With 5 people, we have 10. Now, how many would we have if 11 classmates showed up? 165, Robert answered. You're right, that is easy. This number triangle is nearly as good as a computer, but tell me, what are the orange cubes for? Oh, them, said the number devil. Well, as you may have noticed, we number devils aren't easily satisfied. We tend to go overboard. So just in case 3 people couldn't handle the cleanup and you needed a 4th one, I wanted you to know how many possibilities you'd have. How many will there be if, say, 8 people apply for the Bloom Brigade quartet? 70, said Robert, having no trouble finding the answer in the number triangle. Correct, said the number devil. By now you can guess what the blue cubes are for. A broom brigade octet, said Robert. If I have 8 volunteers, I have only one possibility. But if I have 10, I have 45 possibilities. And so on. You get the picture. What do you think the schoolyard looks like now? Robert said, looking out the window. It was cleaner than he'd ever seen it. I wonder which 3 did it. Well, you weren't among them, my dear Robert. How do you expect me to sweep the schoolyard when you keep throwing numbers and cubes at me all night long? Maybe you need a little rest from me. What do you mean? Aren't you coming back? I thought you could use a holiday, said the number devil. You can always talk numbers with Mr. Barkle. It wasn't the greatest prospect in the world, but he had no choice. He had to go back to school the next day anyway. When he walked into the classroom, he saw Al and Betsy in their normal places. Neither seemed keen on switching. Here comes the wizard, Charlie called out. Robert does problems in his sleep, Betsy teased. Do you think it helps? Asked Doris. Not very much, said Jamil. Mr. Barker can't stand 'em. Well, the feeling's mutual, Robert replied. Robert stole a glance at the schoolyard. As usual, he thought, a regular dump. So much for his dream. But the numbers remained. He could count on the numbers. At that moment the door flew open and in walked the inevitable Mr. Brockle, with a briefcase chock full of pretzels.